friend of mine, her name was Ruth Canada, and I worked together. And our cottage supervisor, Grace Fleming, she told us about the Heber Springs National Guard unit was going to Germany in June of 1978 for annual training, and we wanted to go to Germany. So her son-in-law was in the Guard unit in Heber Springs, and so we went to visit it one Saturday, and we both joined. A lot of the guys at that time, this was 1978, so they thought a woman's place was at home being pregnant, or, you know, barefoot and pregnant, basically. Some were not very accepting of women being in the Guard. Some were, but you just had to kind of prove yourself, and eventually I guess we did, because, you know, they would tell me, hey, you deserve to be here, you know, and they accepted me. So that felt good. We were part of the rapid mobilizations of all the units for Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So on 21 November of 1990, the unit mobilized, and we left for Fort Sill on the 24th of November, and we trained for about a month and a half before we were going to go to Desert Shield, and it was kind of a scary time, because, you know, Saddam Hussein had all kinds of capabilities that we didn't know about. And we, you know, for the first time, you took all the NBC training serious. When you had to put on your protective mask and all your protective gear, you did it in the allotted time that you were supposed to do it in. All the training meant a little bit more to you than it did before. So we trained and trained and trained, and then we loaded all of our vehicles up on the rail, and they shipped out. And then we left on January the 11th, 1991, going to Saudi Arabia. So we landed in country, and they moved us into this huge warehouse at the port. And the warehouse was so big, and it had so many different units in it. Each unit just kind of got a little area, and that's where you were. And they had catered food that came in every day, and they had showers, and they had bathrooms, and they had everything set up. And it was right at the port, because the ships would dock right beside the warehouse and offload all the vehicles. Well, this was at the time where the Scud missiles were landing, not that close to us, but in the city. And so our commander was very, very worried for our safety, and he was wanting us to get out of the area as quick as we can. But we had no vehicles yet, so we had to wait till the vehicles came in. But luckily, they came in just 2 or 3 days later, and we loaded up on the vehicles, on the deuce and a halfs, and we left, going, we didn't know where, to in the middle of the desert. But we got out of port, and it was a little bit better. You weren't as scared. When the war started, the ground war started, it was, and like I said, there was a fuel point at our location right outside our area. And so all the vehicles would come by, and they would stop at the fuel point and refuel, and they would drive north. And it was just convoy after convoy after convoy after convoy going north. And then we had this little hill we could set up on top at night and look, and all you could see is headlights going north. And then like 2 or 3 days later, everybody was coming back, because the ground war was over. And so everybody, it was just convoy after convoy after convoy, people coming south. But we could see the aircraft from our location going north, you know, whenever the air war started. It was, that was kind of cool, seeing them fly over. going. It is continuously going. Well, I'll tell you about a few special people that I had in my career. One was in when I was in 224th Maintenance Company. There was a young specialist that joined our company right before we deployed. He was prior Air Force, and he was married and had a special little wife, and his name was Mike Taylor. And so anyway, he deployed with us. He was, like I said, he was an E4, and when we got back, he decided that he wanted to go to OCS, to flight school. And you know, that was something I never did because I wanted to do the flight school, but I never did take my commission because I was pregnant, I was married, I needed a job. I couldn't quit my job to take the commission. So Mikey's living my dream. So Mike goes to flight school, or he goes to OCS, he gets his commission, he goes to flight school. So he comes back and he's a helicopter pilot, living my dream. And he loves flying. He loves flying. And he's very, very happy in, you know, his world, and he's full-time at Camp Robinson. And those units were deploying, going to Iraq, and Mike volunteered to go with one of the units because that was just kind of guy Mike was. And he was a captain at the time, so he volunteered and he went to Iraq, and he was shot down January the 20th, 2007. And it just touched all of us. It was very, very hard to lose Mike.
What would you wish more people knew about veterans as a whole?
I guess the sacrifice that I don't think people, they know, yes, you're a veteran, you sacrifice, but I don't think they really understand what that means. You know, for that sacrifice. I mean, you know, especially the soldiers that went to Iraq, I mean, ours turned out to not be that bad, except for just being away from your family. But we didn't know that at the time. I mean, there were capabilities there, but it was just the soldiers, you know, the soldiers from Iraq, when they just laid down their weapons, and they wanted to get caught. I mean, they were tired of fighting, basically, at that time. Now, when our soldiers went to Iraq, you know, they faced a lot more severities than we did. But I think that the people just don't know what the soldiers sacrificed, and what we as Americans owe the veterans.